Welcome to Midlife Kicker, the podcast for professionals who've left the corporate world but aren't ready to slow down. We deliver stories from midlife adventurers who are breaking boundaries, reinventing themselves, and building new careers and businesses on their own terms. Each episode delivers fresh ideas and practical advice to help you launch your own second act with confidence. Your midlife moment isn't an ending. It's your springboard to something even better. So if you're ready to kick open new doors and create your next chapter, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Hey, thank you, Brian. Well, today we're talking about midlife reinvention, 5 steps to turn your corporate career into a client-attracting business. So look, you spent many years at that large corporate company, and now it's time to use that to develop a magnet that's going to attract people that are looking for someone just like you to come solve a problem for them. Let's get into this. So there's a challenge here as you begin to go from corporate life into running your own business. You've achieved a lot. You've gained a lot of skills. You've been a subject matter expert there. And those skills are really important and valuable, and they really helped you establish your operation. But one of the things, unless you weren't in sales or marketing, that maybe you don't have too much experience with is getting that pipeline going, getting prospects in to understand who you are, what you are, and how you can help them. Most people don't like cold calling. I know I don't. Many don't like going to networking events. I get it. And, chasing people is just like, it's like, I don't do that. Many people just don't feel comfortable with it. Now, you've got to get out of some of that shell, because if you don't let people know you exist and what you're about, nothing's going to happen. So you got to get through that. So let's be sure that we leverage the experience we have and begin to do the things that we need to in order to let others know that we're out here and we're able to help them. Number one, let's define that expertise. You've been, again, at this corporate entity for many years. You understand a specific industry very well, and that's valuable. I don't know much about healthcare or medical. I have friends that do. My sister does, but I don't. I spent my years in tech, and I know that stuff frontwards and backwards. But, the other I couldn't speak to. But so I have knowledge in a specific industry. There's also specific problems that I dealt with, and I understand how to resolve those. I did it many times. I've got results. And so those are the things I want you to think about. The industry that you know cold, right? You dealt with it for years and years. Things that you did, right? That subject matter expertise that you have, and the results that you came through with in that job. Now, the younger crowd doesn't have this experience. They got a lot of energy, but they don't have this experience. And they don't know how to deal with corporate management and how they make their decisions, even how they speak. It's a totally different language. At least in my experience, it's been that way. So you've got a real advantage here. Let's leverage it. Now, value prop. I'm tying this into number one, which is basically your experience and what do you know, that type of thing. And value prop is really important here, because when someone comes up to you and says, hey, what do you do? Or what does your business do? You need to be able to give them an answer just like that and be crisp. You don't need to go rambling on, but give them a very specific, solid, direct answer. If you don't have that right now, I want you to stop and go work on that, and don't stop until you figure it out. Elements of a value prop, that it's specific. You don't want to have these generic claims in there like what we're showing here, like quality service. Everybody has quality service. Experienced professional. Yeah, all of you are experienced professionals. I know that. So be specific. Essentially, think about the problem that you can solve and who you solve it for. Those are 2 primary questions to answer. What problems do I solve, and who do I solve them for? Think about, the outcomes and how those have been measured and the value that they delivered to the company. And maybe a way that you do this that's a little different from others, a unique approach. So here's a framework. I deliver X to Y so that they can achieve Z, whatever that is, right? So we deliver something to someone so that they get something. That's the framework. Simple as that. There's an example there. We deliver energy efficient lighting to commercial buildings so that they can reduce their energy costs and lower their environmental impact. Simple. That's all you need to be able to say, is something like that. It matters so much. This is really going to help you with your messaging, and messaging as we go through this is going to be super critical. So let's really focus on this. All right, creating content tied back to what you know and what you do. We want to create content. So you've learned corporate lessons. I know I did. I got the scars to prove it. So you've got through these lessons learned and begin to list some of those out. Think back, to some of the things that you went through, that you experienced, and, list them out and flesh them out. Begin to pull that together. And then case studies. You were probably assigned to specific projects or maybe issues that were occurring, and you figured it out. Or you were part of a team that figured it out. That's okay. Pull this case study together. Here was the problem. Here's what we were asked to do. Here's what we did. Here's the result. That's it. Industry analysis, right? There's things going on in everybody's industry that maybe you have some real insight into, where you see it headed, or specific issues, or maybe what you might do to address a specific issue. And then lastly, process insights. Sort of relates to the last one, but how would you do this? Sometimes I didn't know exactly how I would do something, but I knew how I wouldn't. So you can comment on things like that and begin to pull that together. All right, so authority on professional platforms. And I'm going to pause here for just 1 second. If you're enjoying this content and the other podcasts that we've released, I sure wish you would click that like and subscribe button. It really helps us a lot. And I'd also ask that you let your former colleagues and your friends and family know. It really does make a big difference to us. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Now let's get back. All right, building authority through professional platforms. When I think of professional platforms, I think of LinkedIn, right? There are all sorts of social platforms out there, Facebook, or Meta, X, Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. I think LinkedIn for professional platforms is where you should go. Secondarily, I would probably say X, but LinkedIn is where I spend the majority of my time when it comes to sharing insights and things of that nature. I also look for posts where I might be able to comment and maybe add a little bit. And certainly when people comment on my posts, I respond. This is really important. It's part of the algorithm that LinkedIn uses to help push some of your content up. And anyway, plus it's just the right thing to do. Also, you want to make sure that you're connecting with those former colleagues. You can get some, social proof or testimonials from them. You have a former boss, ask them to say, write something nice about me, right? Here's what I did on this project, mention something like that. You can even draft something for them, send it to them and ask them if they do that. Again, stay connected with those colleagues. I had a situation where a former colleague, after a year after we had left the company, called me up and said, hey, I got a problem here I think you can help me with. You interested in talking about it? Sure. So we were able to connect again. He laid it out for me. I said, yeah, I think so. And that led to many, many, many months of full-time work. So anyways, stay connected there. There are a bunch of groups on LinkedIn you can join. Some of them are certainly more valuable than others. I've seen some that I thought, this is going to be a great one. Frankly, not so hot. So you can leave if you don't like it, but there are hundreds, maybe thousands that you can join. There's also professional associations, maybe even boards that you can join. But think about that, right? The network and how you can begin to get your name and what you do and what you solve out into the world. And then there's this content we were talking about. So develop this content. Maybe it's white papers based on the case study. It could be posts about the industry. See if you can speak somewhere. It could be to small groups, could be the Chamber of Commerce, could be on a podcast, hey. And begin to get this information out there. Position yourself as someone who knows about a specific industry and how to solve a specific problem for a specific type of customer. All right. Now, you've been connecting with these people in the network. You've been making phone calls. You reach out to them. But here's the thing with a network is that not everyone in there is the same. That's just the way it is. I've got some in my network they're friends. I love them to death. But other than for maybe a referral or someone that says, yeah, I know the guy and he's okay, I don't really go to them with business items or for business, really. They're friends. But there are others are definitely in a different bucket. Right? They're partners, strategic partners. And there are some that are prospects. And so it's a little different. And so begin to break this up. Think about, the group that you're connected with and work that. And speaking of strategic partners, industry vendors is listed here. And this is, I think, a really important one. I know for me, I established a relationship with a few of them, one of the last places I worked, and they were really, really helpful, even after I left. And so there's no doubt that you can continue some of those relationships long after you leave big corporate company. All right, so we've done all these things we've talked about. Understand what we know, who we know it for, what we can do, who we can do it for. We begin to pull our content together, begin to get noticed out there in the world, work our network, etc. And now we've got someone that's come to us and said, hey, sounds like you might be able to help us with this problem. The things that I see from you, the things that I hear from you, basically it says, hey, this might be a fit. So when that happens, we definitely want to respond to that lead quickly. That's one thing that makes a big difference. There are many companies I talk to that I don't have enough leads or the leads, and they just complain about that when they're not doing what they need to do. So if you get a lead in there, respond quickly and don't let them just sit there. All right, and so part of that process in getting to the sale is discovery, understanding their issue, understanding their business. Who are they? What are they? How big are they? Where are they? And what are the issues that they're dealing with, so that you can begin to share some information, a little. Don't solve the problem right here, just a little, give a perspective on it, and then put together your proposal. That's what they're looking for. And also when you go to put together your proposal, make sure that it not only has all the right content, but actually looks good as well. It makes a difference. And make sure that you have a discussion about budget, because it's part of the deal. They expect it. You should expect that you're going to do this. And think about at corporate, if you were ever involved in any discussions like that, there's always a discussion about price or budget. So it's just part of business. It's part of the sale. So don't shy away from that. All right. So let's put this all together. What we're going to show here is a 90-day plan. Some of you can probably knock this out sooner. And if you can, awesome. I love you for that. But let's just assume it's a 90-day plan. First month, we're going to figure out, okay, who are we? What are we? Let's get our value prop together, our messaging together. Let's make sure that we are solid in that regard, and we begin to reach out to our network. Let's get some of that content together. In month 2, begin to put that out there. Begin to look for opportunities to meet with other groups, speaking opportunities, looking for referrals, things of that nature. And then lastly, what we're going to look for is people starting to reach out to you and begin to have conversations. You can also be reaching out to them. Don't be passive about this. But I know we're trying to develop a magnet, but you got to do all you can to make this work. So we begin to refine the sales approach as we get these conversations started, and make sure that you're pulling all this together in the way that we've outlined. There's also a number of folks that you can talk to about this if you have questions. But, double down on what's working, put in this work, and let's get that sale. Getting the first sale, that's the beginning. Basically, make sure that you define that expertise. Just to sum it all up, create the content, build your authority, leverage your network, then go get it. Make that sale. Thanks again for listening. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks for listening to Midlife Kicker. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with someone ready for their next chapter. Make sure to subscribe for more inspiring stories and practical advice. Want to connect or share your journey? Visit us at midlifekicker.com. Remember, it's never too late to kick open a new door. See you next time.